Want to get an update from Washington because, of course, President Trump has promised both more tariffs and more help for certain industries in a bilateral meeting he was just holding with the president of El Salvador. That's on the heels of another roller coaster weekend in terms of headlines on this topic in particular. Let's get to Megan Cassella, who's at the White House, with more on the very latest for us. Hey, Megan.
Hey, Wilf. So exemptions are the name of the game today here at the White House. Just in the last hour, the president sent American auto stocks jumping on speculation that they may soon see their own exemption from that 25% auto tariff. Take a listen.
Looking at something to help some of the car companies where they're switching to parts that were made in Canada, Mexico, and other places, and they need a little bit of time because they're going to make them here. But they need a little bit of time. So I'm talking about things like that.
So optimism for further exemptions is high today after that move over the weekend. A handful of exemptions that came in spite of weeks of warnings from the White House that there would be no relief for any companies or any specific items. But now smartphones, computers, some TVs, other sort of consumer technology goods are no longer subject at least to the 125% so-called reciprocal tariff on imports from China. They are, though, still subject to the 20% fentanyl tariff imposed earlier this term. But the White House is emphasizing, Wilf, that relief could be short-lived. They say they will soon, perhaps very soon, perhaps today, be launching investigations to determine whether imports of semiconductors as well as pharmaceuticals threaten national security. And a White House official told me earlier today that while smartphones and computers won't be subject to their own investigation, they could face tariffs after the semiconductors investigation because they are downstream users of chips. So they could broaden that investigation to include any items that include semiconductors as well. Wolf?
Megan, what's the kind of latest on why we start getting these different headlines from the president over the weekend or his team? Is it because different members of the team are getting more airtime with him, influencing him more? Is it just the president changing his mind on these things?
It's really the president leading this tariff policy, though, of course, different advisors have different influence at different times. The reason for why we saw exemptions this weekend at this exact moment depends on who you speak to. The White House has really been going to great lengths over the last 48 hours or so to emphasize that this is not a shift in policy, that the only reason there are exemptions now is because all of the items that got exemptions now will later be subject to different tariffs. So they say pretty much everything will ultimately have a tariff attached. I will say, though, that there were some goods that were always exempt from these reciprocal tariffs from the start. It was semiconductors was one, pharmaceuticals, copper, and lumber were the other big ones, as well as some energy, some critical minerals. And phones and computers, you'll notice, were not on that list. If they had always meant to be exempted, or subject to additional investigations, they would have gotten exemptions from the beginning. To me, and from folks I've talked to, that seems to be a reflection of consumer impact and of market impact of these tariffs, that they looked at this and said, we need to carve out maybe a few things that we really can't get from anywhere other than China.